In the first season of The Boys, we are introduced to a new character, Sister Sage. Honestly, I had high hopes for this character, mainly because intelligent characters are among my favorites in fiction. However, Sister Sage has been a letdown, particularly in how her intelligence is portrayed, which is what I want to discuss today. When Homelander first visits her, she is shown reading in a room. Homelander challenges her to demonstrate her intelligence, prompting Sister Sage to launch into a series of deductions about him. That he dyes his hair more frequently, washes his hands more often, and is experiencing a midlife crisis. At first glance, these deductions seem impressive and reminiscent of Sherlock Holmes. However, a closer examination reveals that the scene is poorly written. The supposed brilliance of Sister Sage's deductions hinges entirely on information provided in a previous scene, where specific details about Homelander's habits and state of mind are already established. Without the context provided by the earlier scene, Sister Sage's deductions would lack substance and credibility. Had the show taken a more understanding approach where we are shown Sister Sage getting close to Homelander and making those observations up close, the scene would have been much more effective. This approach will allow us, the audience, to see what she is saying and follow the logic of her reasoning. Instead of her deductions coming out of thin air, we would witness her gathering information firsthand, making her conclusions more believable and earned. Without this more grounded approach and the prior scene, her deductions feel forced and like ass pulls, serving only to lecture us on how smart she is supposed to be. In episode 2, we see Sister Sage tricking MM and the boys into getting into the Deep Blue Sea room, where she plans to have Firecracker and Splinter kill them. While this scene is meant to highlight her cunning and strategic thinking, it suffers from a severe lack of setup, making it fall flat just like the previous example. On the surface, it appears that she has outsmarted them, showcasing her as a formidable opponent. But upon closer inspection, the scene raises more questions than it answers. Even if we were to assume that Sister Sage knows about the boys, the show fails to provide any context as to how she outsmarted MM. How did she know they were tailing her? How did she anticipate they would show up at the expected venue? Where did she get her information from? These critical details are completely overlooked. This lack of setup makes the scene feel abrupt and unearned. It's as if Sister Sage is just doing things without any logical foundation. The audience is left to fill in the gaps, which undermines the credibility of her character. Her actions seem more like convenient plot devices rather than well thought out strategies. This problem is compounded by the fact that the show does not give us any insight into her thought process or how she computes information to take such actions. The show should have provided a build-up that explains how Sister Sage gathered her information and devised her plan. For example, showing her observing MM and the boys, intercepting their communications, or using her network to gather intelligence would have given the audience a clearer understanding of her abilities. This will make her actions feel more grounded and believable rather than seemingly coming out of nowhere. Another frustrating scene involves Sister Sage advising Homelander to have members of the Seven beat up his most loyal supporters to death. A-Train then carries their corpses to the Starlighters riot to frame her supporters for the violent incident. Unbeknownst to them, A-Train steals a copy of the footage and sends it to Starlight and the boys. This leads to a situation at Vought where everyone is trying to figure out who leaked the footage. This scene in particular undermines the previously established intellect of Sister Sage. I mean, from one glance, she could psychoanalyze Homelander and set a trap to get rid of the boys. Yet in this situation, she is unable to deduce who leaked the footage. This sudden drop in her capabilities feels out of character and poorly thought out. Plus, it raises several questions like, if Sister Sage is so adept at psychological manipulation and psychoanalysis, why doesn't she use these skills to figure out who leaked the tape? From one glance, she could detail Homelander's physical and mental state, yet she can't apply this skill to identify the prime suspect in the simple case of leaked footage. If she can access Starlight's private medical records and manipulate Victoria Newman into rallying billionaire allies for a coup, why can't she use the same resources to investigate A-Train's communication with Starlight? This particular case would have been a great opportunity for the show to depict Sister Sage using her intellect and resources to solve the case of the leaked footage, showing her employing the same analytical skills and strategic thinking that she used in previous episodes would have reinforced her character's intelligence. This would have made the investigation more believable and consistent with her established abilities. But despite her previously demonstrated intelligence, she's unable to solve a relatively simple case. For someone who is being constantly mentioned as having near sentient levels of intelligence, solving this case should not have been a challenge. Sister Sage's character in The Boys falls into a common trap where intelligent characters are frequently described as smart but rarely shown to be. This issue is evident in several scenes, most notably in a recent episode where she discusses her scientific achievements. In episode 6, Sister Sage explains to Victoria Newman how she discovered a cure for her grandma's cancer, but her research was rejected. While this scene successfully conveys her feelings about humanity, it falls into the trap of telling rather than showing her intelligence. The show explicitly tells us that she's incredibly smart, capable of curing cancer and potentially reversing global warming, but it rarely demonstrates this through her actions. This method of characterization is lazy and unearned. By merely stating Sister Sage's intellectual feats, the show attempts to validate her intelligence without providing substantial evidence. It's a classic tell don't show scenario that diminishes the impact of her character's supposed brilliance. In contrast, a character like Tek-Knight is handled much better. The show illustrates his deductions in real time, allowing the audience to see what he sees, the heartbeats, the body vibrations, and understand the logical steps he takes to reach his conclusions. This method of showing rather than telling makes Tek-Knight's intelligence feel earned and credible. On the other hand, Sister Sage's intelligence often feels like an ass pull, a contrived element to make her seem more formidable without the necessary groundwork. She simply does things out of the blue, or the plot conveniently attributes certain actions to her after the fact, leaving the audience disconnected from her thought process. Instead of telling us about her achievements, the show could provide scenes where she actively solves problems, makes insightful observations, and uses her intellect in ways that the audience can follow and appreciate. In the first draft of this video script, which I wrote 2 days before episode 7, I actually predicted that the show will go towards the direction where they will reveal that Sister Sage actually knew it was A-Train who leaked the footage without providing any further explanations, or that they might show that she's been the one manipulating the strings all along. I also made the prediction that it would be revealed that she gave Firecracker the list of drugs to produce milk to manipulate Homelander, and other typical I knew it all along reveals that intelligent characters often fall into. This is a common and frustrating trope where the supposed intelligence of a character is retroactively justified by claiming they knew everything from the start. This approach is lazy and unsatisfying because it doesn't provide any real insight into the character's thought process or strategies. It's a convenient way to make them seem smarter than they are without putting in the effort to show their intelligence in action. In conclusion, I don't think Sister Sage is as smart as the show makes her out to be. Her character suffers from the common issue of being described as smart without adequate demonstration, or at least they don't show it enough for the audience to reach that conclusion. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about Sister Sage and the boys in general. I sincerely hope they don't resort to making her one of those I knew it all along characters by the end of the season. It's an exhausting and frustrating trope, especially for those of us who appreciate well-developed and intelligent characters. That's just my opinion anyways.